Okay, so continuing along, we're actually going to pop it into sport. Something I do want to mention is Genesis has a lot of like really nice metallic trim throughout their interior, which looks fantastic and it never looks dirty. But hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing the all-new Genesis G80 Electrified. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Genesis of Linden, Utah for giving me some time with this G80. This is their demo vehicle, so if you want to drive the new G80 Electrified before you go and order one, then just stop on by and they'll be more than happy to help you out. If you have any questions whatsoever, just ask for Marie. I'll also include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you guys can see what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time, money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So we have a dual electric motor setup that is paired to an 87.2 kilowatt hour battery pack. Driving range is 282 miles with power outputs being 365 horsepower and then 516 pound-feet of torque, which is extremely impressive actually. Now let's go to the front end of the G80 Electrified, and you guys will notice that this looks just like pretty much every other G80 on the market. So we have Genesis's signature hood here, and you guys can see we've got the lines that go down to the Genesis logo, and I love this blue paint here. You can see it's absolutely sparkles in the sunlight. And then we have the G80's normal daytime running lights with their headlights. The reason I'm saying normal so much is a lot of electric cars will go crazy with the styling, whereas this, I mean, Genesis styling is already pretty out there, but like this is normal Genesis styling. Anyways, moving from that, you guys can see with the grill all closed off. Got a camera there in the center. The reason it's closed off is because, well, fully electric helps out with aerodynamic efficiency. Parking sensors there at the bottom, and I think it looks pretty cool. So here's the charge port for the G80 Electrified. You can see it's on the front here, and it also does have DC fast charging as well. You just have to pull off this little cap and you're all set. Coming around the side here, tire and wheel setup is 245, 45, 19 in the front, and then 275, 40, 19 in the rear. Then you guys can see here with the design on the wheels, you got the silver there on the top, and then you got some metallic gray below that. Overall, I think it's a pretty cool looking wheel, and again, it doesn't look weird. Turn signal indicator here on the side of the car. It's kind of like a Genesis thing to do. And we've got normal door handles. We've got chrome trim around the windows, on top of the door handles as well, and on the bottom of the car right there. And there's your side view. So here's our key fob for the G80. You guys can see we've got the lock function, unlock the opening here for the trunk, which we'll press right now. Remote start, and then this is the parking function. So basically you remote start the G80 Electrified, and then you can hold down either button to move the car forward or backwards if you're in a tight parking space. And then that allows you to turn on the lights, which is a cool feature. Now, popping here in the back, you guys can see storage space is pretty good, but there is something you're gonna notice, and it's this lump right here. This is the only downside that I have found with the G80 Electrified is, well, because this ultimately wasn't a from the ground up electric car platform, you know, they did have to make some modifications to fit the whole battery pack and everything, so you do lose a little bit of trunk space, but it's like, it could be worse. It could look like a Tesla. Anyways, we can press this and that'll lower down the trunk, and there's the rear. Not sure why I said there's the rear, but anyways, let's go over the rear here. So just like a regular G80, you guys can see it kind of like flows up here. And I love the taillights and the turn signal indicators here on the back. And then it doesn't even say electrified here in the back. Like, there is no way to tell that this is a G80 Electrified unless you know there's also parking sensors there in the rear, and that's all. So here's the door panel in the rear. You guys can see you've got sunshades here for the back passengers. Wood trim here at the top, and you can see the leather trim down below, and I love the white leather as well. Now this is kind of hard to see. I'll try to show on the front, but this is actually green here with that leather trim. This has a interior called like Dark Lagoon or something like that. It's supposed to kind of match the exterior color, which I said was blue earlier, but it's kind of like a greenish blue or bluish green. I'm probably colorblind, but anyways, here are the seats in the rear. Notice the cool design and the perforations, and let's quickly pop in. Ooh. Legroom, headroom, it's still solid, and then you guys can see the little storage pocket there. We've got that for our climate controls for the rear, so we do have a climate zone here in the rear. And then we of course have this cool center console here, sunshade, cup holders, I mean pretty much everything you need here in the back. And then of course we can adjust this seat here in the rear, which is always fun because it's the most important seat. Let's head to the front. So here's the front door panel. You can see, hopefully, that it's green there at the top, and then the wood trim down below. And then here is a look. Let me know if you guys can see in the comment section below. I'm just not sure if the camera's gonna pick it up, but it's just a really dark green. It might just look black to you guys that are watching. Anyways, window controls right here. We've got all of our mirror adjustments. The mirrors do power fold in. There's a quick look at them. And then speaker for the Lexicon sound system. Now it's interesting, the new G90 uses the Bang & Olufsen for their sound system, so maybe we'll see that in the G80 soon, who knows. But here's the front seat. Sorry about my shadow, but you can see it's the same like white leather, which is really cool, and you got the piping on it, which is pretty nice. And then we've got all of our power adjustments. This does have massage seat function as well. Pedal layout down below. Got this for the parking brake. That's to open up the trunk stability control. And then look at the wood trim there again. That's so beautiful. And actually, can you see the green? I think that's the money shot. Steering wheel's power adjustable. Let's pop in. So here's the steering wheel for this G80 Electrified. You guys can see the nice leather trim all around, and then you got the contrast stitching. And by the way, this is, again, the green with the white. And then we do have some nice practical controls, like steering assistance, adaptive cruise control, and then this is actually for the regen, so they still utilize the same paddle shifters as what you have in a regular G80, but instead of shifting through the gears, it's more or less aggressive with regen. So this is more aggressive, this is less aggressive. Volume controls as well, turn signal, light stock, windshield wiper stock, you know all the normal works. There you go. So here's a gauge cluster, full digital gauge cluster, and we can still scroll through different menus there in the center to see different bits of info. Pretty straightforward. Biggest difference is, notice that, well, 250 miles of range right now, not fully charged, but shows us state of charge. And then over here it shows us if we're charging the battery, if we're in the power, and all that fun stuff, and yeah. Here's a standard infotainment screen, which is still a touchscreen. Now the big thing is you've got an EV tab, so right now it shows us we're at 93%, and I love how it shows, hey, if you don't use the air conditioning, then you get another 22 miles of driving range, which is pretty cool. So what that means is if this was fully charged without air conditioning, we could get over 300 miles of range. Again, RIP Tesla, that's all I'm gonna say. But let's pop it into reverse. So we've got a backup camera with your drive-through lines that turn with the steering wheel. We got the bird's eye view, and then we also have this cool exterior shot. It's like a 3D rendering of the G80. And look at that. I mean, the grill's kind of closed off there in the rendering, so it all matches. Other than that, as for the rest of the infotainment screen, really easy to use. It has the normal functions that any G80 has, and that's what you're going to notice throughout this review, is there are a couple things that are different because this is fully electric, but for the most part, it's just normal G80. So we already mentioned this, but green all over the dash, it's so cool to see. I don't know, I love the contrast, and I love this wood trim here as well. And then we still have the Genesis Mega Vent. And we got our climate controls down below, so we have dual zone climate system, heated seats, heated steering wheel, cooled seats as well, and then again, massaging function on top of that. And then we have our like wireless phone charging pad area, USBs, all that, and then you can cover that up with a wood tab if you want. Volume controls, and then this is the little dial to control the infotainment system if you don't want to use the screen. And then this is to put it into gear. Again, completely normal. And then got a little wood trim panel there to cover up the cup holders, which I love the trim around the cup holders. That's for the camera system, parking sensors, and then our drive mode select, which pops up here in the center. So we have an eco, comfort, and then we have a sport mode. And this does have the 3D gauge cluster, so it's definitely interesting. It looks way different in person than in video and pictures, but it just makes the camera want to blur out, funny enough. There's the center console, 12 volts, and then you can see the leather trim here on top, and then the glove box. Nice material use on that as well. And then up top, we've got a nice premium headliner here. You can see on the sun visors as well. No sunroof or anything like that, but there you go. So here's our window sticker for the G80 Electrified, and you guys can see all of the standard equipment, which pretty much everything is standard. Notice with the warranty information, 5-year 60,000 mile new vehicle warranty, 10-year 100,000 mile on the powertrain, and then 10-year 100,000 mile on the electric systems as well. $79,825 is the base MSRP. $81,625 is the total MSRP, which is super reasonable in today's world, especially for an electric vehicle. And then we already saw the range, but you guys can see it only takes 9 hours to fully charge if you have a 240 volt outlet at your house, which, by the way, is super inexpensive to upgrade to. It's like several $100. But anyways, let's see how this drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility of the hood, and hopefully you guys can now see the heads-up display. Both the mirrors, which do a blind spot monitoring. And then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So starting off in the G80 Electrified, and this is definitely an interesting vehicle. So this is something that's, I think, really smart for automakers to do in the short term, is to take their regular vehicles and to electrify them, like what Genesis has done with this. Because obviously it's a lot less expensive because you're not building a whole new platform. And it's a lot easier for people to kind of transition into a fully electric car because, again, this feels like any other G80. From a driving perspective, it's really solid so far. So just like the regular G80, seat comfort's amazing, and the massage seat function, super nice as well. Ride quality is really good. Like, you don't give up anything from a ride quality standpoint by going for this electric powertrain. But a big benefit of this over the regular G80 is there's no engine sound, which the regular G80 has pretty quiet powertrain, so it's like not a huge issue. But something that I think is really important is that because it's electric, instant power, instant torque, so it's very smooth with the acceleration because it's perfectly like linear, which is great. So continuing along, we're actually going to pop it into sport. Something I do want to mention is Genesis has a lot of like really nice metallic trim throughout their interior, which looks fantastic and it never looks dirty. But if you're going to get a Genesis, get window tint, because in the sunlight it's so blindingly bright. Like I can't look down at the drive mode select, for example, because of how bright it is. I guess that person's not going to go, so I guess okay. But anyways, we're gonna get past this little spurt of traffic, and then wow, that's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. And then if I hold down the left paddle, super aggressive with the regen. Yeah, this thing's, I mean, just like most electric cars, it's like instant, but this is actually pretty dang quick. Now, you guys will notice by the figures, they definitely torqued it up quite a bit. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and you just do the minus paddle and like foot not on the brake at all. Like, this is all paddle. And it's so aggressive with the regen that it just comes up to a stop. This is a solid setup. Now, I don't think people buying this are really gonna be, you know, going full throttle all the time. So like this partial throttle business, just kind of get into it, really good. Like, it really works. You guys can see it also has a turn signal camera, which is another nice feature. Yeah, suspension over like up the curb, super comfortable. So final thoughts. Pricing seems really reasonable for what this is. Interior is amazing, just like most Genesis models. And from a driving perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense. Like, this I would actually pick over a regular G90, I think, because the power's there, it's the same. But the big difference with this is I'm able to like perfectly modulate with the throttle, like get the exact amount of power that I want. Whereas with the regular G80, right, you gotta wait for, you know, and it has a lot of low end torque, but you gotta wait for the turbos to spool up a little bit, transmission to shift down and everything. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. And I actually, did I gain range? Okay, I guess I gained range. That's weird. So yeah, as an electric car, I'm all about this. And you know what? I feel like I sound like a broken record at this point, but again, RIP Tesla. Seriously, like, there is no reason to get a Tesla when stuff like this exists, because this looks so much better than any Tesla. And it drives amazingly well. It's so comfortable. It feels like a regular car. I've got a key fob. I can just hop in the car. I can press the start button. Like, it's so normal and it's so good. So yeah, huge fan. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this G80 Electrified. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Genesis of Linden for giving me some time with this G80. Check out the inventory in the description down below. Ask for Marie if you have any questions whatsoever. I'll see ya.